Welcome back. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to quit your job and start your own business. So let's start right out on the right foot here now. The thought of having a job and starting your own business can be pretty darn exciting, and simultaneously, you can get overwhelmed with all the things it takes to start a business. So rule number one from Ted Thomas is relax, don't quit your job. You don't know what you don't know. Now, rule number two is read rule number one. Now, I don't mean that as a joke. I'm really serious about this. So for sure, you're going to read the newspapers. There's volumes of blogs on the internet. There's published books. There's YouTube videos. There's teachers, professors. Everyone's ready to give you advice about quitting your job. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Having a job is one thing. Starting a business is a whole other piece of information. All right, so on late night television, you'll hear visiting professors from the colleges saying, look, you should start your own business and riches are on the horizon. That's what everyone's going to say. So everyone wants to talk about success stories because everyone loves success stories. Well, it's not always success stories. So I need to tell you, I've talked to dozens of people and they've come to me and said, Ted, quitting my full-time job was the worst decision of my life. Now, why was that? Well, they were probably going to be a great entrepreneur, but they didn't get their ducks lined up and they didn't have their revenue source lined up and they really weren't organized to be in business. All right, business is not going to be easy. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Being in your own business is going to be work. I'm not telling you not to do it, but I've talked to hundreds of people that quit their job. They had a 40-hour-a-week job. Yeah, they had to take some phone calls on weekends and whatever. Yeah, they had to do some things at night, but basically a 40-hour-a-week job. They quit and they go home. They work 60 hours, but they can't make any money. Making money and revenue is your number one priority when you're going to have a business, and it's not so easy to get all that started. So I'm not going to discourage you from being in business, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to scare you away. I'll be right back with more information. Okay, now I'm back. Now, folks, I've been at this for 30 years. It doesn't work perfectly, but let's use some factual information so it's not just my opinion. The Small Business Administration, that's really a division of the United States government. Now, it was formed by the Congress of the United States, and they formed the Small Business Administration to make loans to help business people. In addition to that, they keep track of records, and they have lots of ways to get business advice. That's the Small Business Administration. All right, so they're going to tell you, just if you'll ask, they will tell you just exactly how well entrepreneurs really do. So the records that they keep, according to those records, if 100 businesses start today, they open their doors, they go into business, 80% of those businesses will fail. That's it. They'll close, they'll end up in bankruptcy, they'll shut down in the first 5 years. All right, so there's an 80% failure rate. All right, now let's carry that one step further. That means 20% of those people are going to do A-OK. So there's a 20% survival rate. Now, of those 20% survivors, 80% of those are also going to fail in the subsequent 5 years. So in 10 years' time, 96% of all startup businesses will fail. So let's take a step backwards and say, how are we going to do our business so that we're not part of that 96% fail rate? Now, I'm going to tell you again, I'm going to ask you to review this again and again. Don't quit your job. I'm not joking around. That's rule number one. And rule number two is reread rule number one. I can personally assure you that business is going to teach you that there's some tough lessons to learn. Now, I'm a solutions guy, so the rest of this video, I'm going to show you solutions. But believe me, I don't want you to think, and I don't want you to think I'm going to sugarcoat it. All right, so first of all, do you have skills in your present job that you can transfer? And is it a trade or is it something special? Is it something in demand that people will pay you for? Why? number one priority is what? You've got to develop revenue. In other words, you've got to create, you've got to build, you're going to have to manufacture, you're going to have to somehow figure out how to generate revenue if you're going to have a business. Now, if you have a service business, that's going to use up a lot of your time. Now, products take time to create and they cost money to manufacture, but service, that uses up a lot of your time. So you're going to have to work double time, not only at the job, but you're going to have to work at night to create new things. All of this is going to take time. So again, I'm not just repeating because I want to scare you away. I don't. So just don't quit your job. Make sure you got revenue coming in so you can take care of you and most of all, take care of your family. You need to figure out how to generate revenue. If you can't do that, you're going to have a tough time being in business. All right, so let's tell you, it's not going to be easy. I've said that many times. I'll say it to every single day when you get into business. Payroll looks easy when you're collecting a paycheck. Every 2 weeks, that paycheck comes. If you think that's easy to come by, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to find out it's not easy to meet those payrolls. Now, I've been in business for 30 years. Okay, I've done that as an entrepreneur. I managed that business from a small office in my home. Now, just because it's a small business doesn't mean that it has to have a small gross revenue. So the remainder of the video, I'm going to give you some of the details of that business, and I'm going to show you how you could have a business where you could earn $25,000 and even $50,000 on one deal. But it's going to take some learning time so that you can learn how to make these transactions, and you're not going to need a big office. You're not going to need a lot of helpers. You could do this on your own time. So being a freelancer helps a lot. So if you haven't been a freelancer, you haven't run a business, understand money's going to be a lot different than collecting a paycheck. You're going to have to work full time on generating revenue. Now, if you decide to hire employees to help you, their priority is to get paid. So that means your number one priority is to keep them paid. If you can't keep them paid, I can assure you they're not hanging around. They can't. They've got their own families. All right. So what happens when they're an employee? They want to show up. They want you to tell them what to do. They want to get paid. That's what they want. It's a whole different ballgame when you're in business for yourself. You're going to have to create. You're going to have to build. You're going to have to solve problems for people. You're going to have to manufacture products, or you're going to have to create services. All of those things you get to do when you're in business for yourself. I'm not discouraging you because long term, it's a good deal. Short term, it's not as easy as you're going to read in the book or you're going to hear other people tell you about. Fortunately for me, 30 years ago, I discovered a business, and it was a great business because I could buy low and then I could sell for any price I wanted to price, any price that I wanted to sell at. Okay, now the business was profitable right away because I understood if I bought it at a certain price and I knew what I could sell it for, I could make a profit. The business was around for over 200 years. It was a subset of the real estate business. All right, now traditional real estate, you guys know what that is. It's houses mostly. It's residential buildable lots. It's sometimes small farms and small apartments. But you understand real estate because there's brokers and agents and attorneys in your neighborhood, title companies. That's traditional real estate. I got involved in real estate that was not traditional. It was tax defaulted real estate. And there's thousands of these tax defaulted real estate across the United States. Thousands, and people are employed the exact same way, except they're buying for pennies on the dollar. They're buying tax defaulted property. All right, so this subset of the regular real estate business has been around for over 200 years. It's not only around, it's available in all 3,000 counties across the United States. All right, so what happens when people don't pay their tax? Well, the local county's got a big problem if they don't pay tax. Why? Because taxes are what pay the county employees, the fire department, the hospitals, the police departments, and so on. So the county, if they can't collect tax, they go out and confiscate those properties. In other words, the county sends a default notice, they put it through a due process. If people don't pay their tax, the county takes the property away from them by confiscation, and then they resell that property. They resell the property for 60, 70, and 80% discount. Now, the legislature in all states requires the Board of Supervisors force the sheriff and the treasurer to levy taxes, collect taxes. If they can't collect taxes, guess what? They're going to take over those properties and going to resell them. So that's the subset I'm talking about. It was all created by the legislature. They make all the rules. They enact rules that that you and I can take advantage of in an honorable and ethical way. We can buy these properties for 10 cents, 20 cents, and 30 cents on the dollar. The county is discounting these properties. Now, sometimes properties are available for 5 or 10 cents on the dollar. The point is, if you want to quit your job and start your own business, you need to plan on that. You need to plan on having revenue right away. I found a business that I could get involved in day one. I could buy at a low price and I could sell at any price I want. Why? Because the county, when they confiscate the property, they sell for 60, 70, and 80% discounts. That means I'm buying for 10, 20, or 30 cents on the dollar. So let me ask you, if you could buy a $100,000 property for 20 or 30% discount, would you want to do that? Well, of course you would. Now, to top it off, there's no mortgage on these properties. The legislature, they wipe out the mortgage. They tell the treasurer, take the mortgage off the property. There's no mortgage. There's no deed or trust loan. Now, anybody can do this. All right, now, if you want to be involved in this business, you can do that just by learning a little bit more about it. Now, right below me is an auction calendar, and I'll tell you a little bit how you can get an auction list absolutely free. So just go below me now, and you'll learn how to get an auction list, and you'll see this is going on in all 3,000 counties across the United States. I'm Ted Thomas.